Hello and welcome to episode 103 of the GoTechnology hub2 tutorial video series. This one is about loading data and starting off with loading the initial data in there. I'm actually re-recording this episode because the first time around the audio got screwed up. But hey, second time's a charm. One life gives you lemons. Throw those lemons right back as hard as possible. So, loading data within GoTechnology hub2. This is the first part where people really kind of have questions. Normally they get started, we've got everything set up, we hand it all over, and if they're doing the setup all themselves, if they're doing all the loading themselves, they're kind of like, okay, now what? So one of the first things I'd point out is if you go to this little question mark menu, this is where you're going to get all your help guides. You're also going to be able to go and review the e-learning if you want to go back and revisit that, because you'll have had to do that beforehand, but sometimes it takes a little while for people to get from doing the e-learning to actually setting up. So we've also got this user guide here, so that's the kind of first place that I would direct people. And if you click to open the user guide, let me just put it back to a different tab there. If you click to open the user guide, the actual first thing you'll see right there at the top is a section there called help. What order do I load the data in? What does this table do? So if you go in there, what you'll see is that we've got actually a link to our GoTechnology data dictionary. When you click on that, we'll open up a spreadsheet file. So this spreadsheet file is our data dictionary file, and it is going to go at least some way to answering those questions. So if I just go and pull up Excel here. So what we've got in here is a list of all the different tables, the different entities, as we call them, within GoTechnology hub2, along with a definition of them, some example values, the menu location for them, the level that we're at, remembering that we've got these levels A, B, C, D, and E, which we'll talk about a bit more later on. The load order, so what order do you have to put this in, and whether or not it's essential, which I'll talk about a bit more in a second, and what it's used by. So for example, disciplines here, which is pretty much the first thing you're going to load in there, and certainly the first thing that I'm going to show you how to load. That's used in a lot of things. So all of these different things, as-built drawing cables, certification grouping, ITR job card, handover line, and blah, 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 blah. They all use discipline. So you need that in there. So this field here, which says essential, is it essential, yes or no? That means basically, do you absolutely have to load it in? Okay, so you can see here, discipline, that's essential. We need that because it's used by all of this stuff. It's a mandatory field, a required field for all of these things here. So if we don't load any disciplines, we're not going to get very far. Now, one below it is drawing type. You might notice there that that's not an essential table. That doesn't mean you shouldn't load it. It just means you could get up and running without it. You wouldn't actually be able to set up any drawings because drawings need drawing types. But maybe for some reason you don't want to load your drawings in there. I would say you probably do, but is it absolutely mandatory? Is it absolutely essential? Could you sign off an ITR without it? Could you put a handover in place without it? Yeah, you could. So it's not necessarily absolutely required, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't load it. So I would recommend load as many tables as possible. Give yourself the chance to have as full a picture as possible. You know, you might be on a project for a while, you might be on a project for a short time, but whoever's dealing with it in a year is going to appreciate it if you've got as much data in there as possible. Okay. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to load all the data at level B, because that's the first level where you actually have data. Level A is just it's the company level, and it's kind of configuration stuff. It's the place. Level B is effectively the kind of sector or region level, and it's where we put the information which is the least likely to change. So, for example, from project to project, you're probably not going to have huge variations in your discipline list or in your drawing types in your ITR classes. So what I'm going to do is we'll go through the process of loading some of this information in. And we'll just close that down there, and we will close this one down too. So disciplines. Disciplines is under reference tables, and we can just go in here and we can just add some stuff manually if we want. We can just click add. We can go, we want to put in A, and it's architectural, and we can go save and view. When we go save and view, we get to this, and we can click new discipline. We'll put in a new one, and we'll put in C, and we can put in cable. There's save and there's save and view. Save just is, maybe you're in the middle of working on something, you just want to quickly save it, but you want to continue to work on it. For disciplines, obviously, it's not a great example because only 2 fields there anyway, but yeah, that's what that's there for. We'll go save and view, and then we can go new discipline again. But that's kind of time consuming, so, it's good for kind of doing a couple, but if you're doing a lot, then, you probably want a quicker way of doing it, and that's where the imports and exports come in. So what we'll do here, we've got an import page, and in that you can then put data back in, but what we'll do first is we'll export all this data out. So this is going to come out in a spreadsheet format, and then we can take that spreadsheet, we can populate more data in there, we can load it back in. So what we can do here is we can select which ones we want to export, or we can just click export and it'll pull all of them out. There's also some drop down menus here, so if you wanted to do some different options, again, you can choose which columns you want to come out. So if you only want the name or the description or whatever, and you can choose a format. Those ones are okay for us. We don't really need to do anything other than the default, so we can just click OK, or we could have just clicked export straight off. And then when we open this up, it will be a spreadsheet. We'll just wait for it to load up. There we go. We'll have to click this enable editing. And we can actually just then populate this data ourselves. So we can go and we can put like electrical. We can put like F, like fire and gas. And then also, if you've already got these spreadsheets, examples of them, for example, from like previous projects or whatever, you can obviously just do that. So we could do like H for HVAC or whatever. Let's just save that. And it'll say, yeah, you can't do it because it's read only, so we'll go and we'll say, okay, save that there. Before I go and import this, I'll just explain something. You might notice here there's some colors, orange and blue. Those colors are there to help you. Blue is a required column and orange is an identifying column. So the difference there is that a blue column, you have to fill it in with something, but it could be anything. The orange is you have to fill it in with something, and it has to be unique. So if I was to say that, let's say A was like all disciplines or whatever, what that would do is it would import A as being architectural, and then it would get down to this one, and it would say, oh, you want to change the description of A, because you've already got an A there, so you obviously want to update it. So that's what that means, because orange, you can only have this value once. That's the name. So when we say A is architectural, when we go back to A again and we say, no, actually it's all we're doing is changing that. So that's the difference there. There's other colors as well. And if you want a description of that, it's actually in the help guide. So if we go back to that help guide that I had before in the user guide, and we open this up, we come down here, and there's hopefully quite a lot of useful information in here, which you'll refer to and which we can kind of refer to as we're going through these videos as well. But if we go down to populating data, and this section here kind of covers a lot of what I'm going to talk about in the video. So if you want to, if you prefer to learn by reading, or just you're sick of hearing my voice, you can just kind of go through there. But one of the things that you'll see in here, once we scroll down, is the little bit of information about what each heading color means, which again, that orange is the identity one, blue is required. There's some other ones in here which we'll talk about a little bit more as we go through, but for now, just remember that orange is the identifying and blue is the required. So we've done that now. We've kind of created that sheet there. You can see we've got A and C, but we want to go and import those, so we'll just click to the import section there under imports. And we want to choose a table. What table are we trying to load up? Discipline. So, okay, cool. We've chosen discipline. Now we want to select a file to actually put in. So if we go down here, we go copy of discipline, export, and then we've got 3 different options here. And again, if we go to the user guide, we can find some information on those. So import types, validate, simulate, and full. So it explains it there, but just to kind of go through it on screen, the validate is there as a real kind of basic check. All it does is it says, do you have the columns that are correct for this? So if I was trying to put in something which was actually a tag import into the disciplines table, when I ran a validate, it would say, that's the wrong thing. You've lost your mind. You're trying to put tags into a discipline one. So that's a very, very simple, very basic check. It does check some other stuff as well. You know, are the dates in the right format? Do the fields contain too many characters, etc., etc. So that can be kind of useful. But the simulate one is the real useful one. What the simulate import does is it runs the import, but it doesn't actually make the changes. Okay, so when we go and do a simulate like this, we'll do it. So it says it's added to the queue, which is the way it works in GoTechnology hub2. We have a queue in there, and we've just got an alert to say that it's been completed. That's what that little purple kind of bell icon is there for. So if we click on that, we get this results file. It says the total unchanged, and then there's 3 to be added. So it doesn't say 3 added. It says 3 that could be added, because this is a simulate. Okay, so if we download that result file and open that up, we do like to use Excel a lot in this. It's a handy tool. And what we'll see in there is we've got a results file, which just opened on my other monitor. So let me just pull that up here. So we've got to be added. So we can say that in the totals, this is the summary sheet. So there's 2 unchanged, 3 to be added. And then if we go to the to be added, it's highlighted in green there for E, F, and H. What we'll do as well is I'll just quickly make a change to the export here. And what we will do is we will change cable. We'll change cable to cables. So we'll just put an S there. We'll just save that. And what we'll do is I'm going to just say, you know what, I'm confident in that change. I'm not going to run a simulate. I'm going to run a full import because I like to live dangerously. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with what I'm doing. So we'll go in here and we will just go and click import. So there we go. That's been done. So what we've got now is we've got 3 added, 1 updated, and 1 unchanged. If we just go and we have a look at the results for that, and we download the result file, open that up. And what you'll be able to see when that opens up here is that all the results added. So here's the ones that we've added. So that's the E, F, and H. Those didn't exist before. They're going to be in the discipline table now. But we also updated one. We updated cables. That's the field we changed. That's been highlighted in green. So if we want to compare and contrast, one of the helpful things is we've got an updated old values as well. So we click on that, we can see what the old value was in red, new value, old value, new value. So it's a nice kind of helpful way of seeing, you know, what is it that's changed, especially when you've got larger imports. These ones there's only a couple of columns, but for the larger ones, when you try to spot, well, what is it that's different, that's kind of a helpful thing. And then we've got one which is unchanged, which is architectural. So if we go back down and we go to our disciplines, now when we run the search, if we just click that off, you'll see, hooray, we've got 5 disciplines instead. So that's our first import in. Let's see what else we need to do, and we're just going to do the level B ones here. So let's have a look back at our data dictionary. I filtered this down to level B already, and what we're going to do in this video is we'll just do the essential ones. Now I know I said earlier on, make sure you do as many of them as possible, don't just do the essential ones, but you know, do as I say, not as I do. I just don't want this video to be really, really long and boring. So what we'll do now, we'll go back and do this digital document checkbox type. This one's a little bit different, so I'll show you this one, and then we'll quickly go through the imports for the other ones. There's just 2 other ones that we need to do, and then we'll call it a day for this video, and we'll move on to the next video. So, digital document checkbox types is one that's in here. Digital documents is something that I'm going to do a video about later on. But basically, if we think about digital documents as the representation of our check sheets, our ITRs, what are the check boxes that we would be using? What is our users actually going to be interacting with? So let me just open up a quick example of an ITR for you. So if we just go in, I'll just get our ITR suite here. So this is our standard wood commissioning services ITRs. If we open up one here, and we'll try another one as well. We'll see. So what we're actually doing when we set up the digital document checkbox types is we are saying, well, what are the grids going to look like that we're going to be filling in. So in this case, we've got OK, NA, and punch list, or PL, we would normally say, OK, NA, PL. So that's the kind of checkbox types that we want to fit in. So if we just go back to there, what we want to do is we want to go add checkbox, OK, add checkbox, NA, and add checkbox, PL. Now, your company or your certification set might do things, might be different. You know, you might have yes, no, or yeah, okay, no, whatever. There's also an option here to say which ones raise punch lists. For us, it's PL. It's important to note that actually this functionality is not fully implemented at the moment. It's going to be implemented a little bit later on, at least at the time of this video. But it's worth setting it anyway, because then it'll be a little bit future-proof. So we go save and view, and that's that done. Like I said, we'll go into more detail on that in the digital document episode. So what else have we got to load? We can go through that quickly, and then we'll call it a day. We've got ITR class. And the other one we've got is the tag ITR completion status. So ITR class is usually MC or PC, or maybe construction, commissioning operations, and tag ITR status, completion status is complete and not required. Because there's only two here, I'm just going to do them on screen. That'll be nice and quick. ITR classes, we go in here, we want to add one. And we say, okay, this is going to be MC, and it's going to be completion. Now, the handover gate one is a bit interesting. Handover gate is how you link it to the actual handovers. So if you watched the earlier episode about setting up at level E, you'll be familiar with the handover gates, and also the functionality selector one as well. So in our level E, if we go down to here, if we go to the tutorial one, the handover setup we have is MCDAC, MCC, and RFCC. And what we're saying is that the MCDAC and the MCC are only going to be doing these MC ITRs. So any sort of pre-commissioning or commissioning ITRs wouldn't be included in that. So that's cool. That's what we want to do. So if we just go save and view, and then we'll do a new ITR class. We'll go PC, and we'll go handover gate number 2, and we'll go pre-commissioning. So this would be normally what would be kind of like your B sheets, with the other one being your A sheets. And if you're not familiar with that, don't worry. Again, we'll kind of talk about that more a little bit later on as we go. So that means that when we're at this point here, we'd be handing over only the A sheets. Again, only the A sheets, and then when we get to the system handover, we'd be doing our A and B sheet, so our MC and PC. So only MC, MC, and PC. Now, the way it might be set up for your company, it might be completely different from that, but that's that kind of link. It's saying, well, which ITRs are we actually handing over? And then the last thing that we need to do is just set up our tag ITR completion status. The purpose of this is just to say, what do you consider? What do you consider the statuses that you could have a check sheet in? So we're just going to go with complete, and that will put that the check sheet has been fully completed and signed off. And then we want to set that one to is default. That means that when somebody just goes to sign it off, it will by default choose this. They would have to choose a different option if they wanted to do something different. So whatever's the most commonly used one is the one you want it to have as the is default. We can also do some notifications in there. So if we wanted to notify the person that it's assigned to when it's been completed, we could do that. It won't do that if it's you. If you're the person who completes it and it's assigned to you, it won't do that because we don't want to spam you. So we'll go save and view, but we'll just add another one in there as well. And we'll new tag it to our completion status. And we'll call this one incomplete. And we'll put the notification for assigned to you for that. And we'll put required reason. For some reason, the check sheet. Enter reason. Comments, and we've put required reason in there, and we haven't put it as the default because you can only have one default. So we've put required reason, and that means that when they go to set the status as incomplete, they'll have to enter a reason why it wasn't signed off. So, you know, maybe it's the location or the equipment's inaccessible for whatever reason, and you want to mark it as okay, it was on the plan to be done, but it couldn't be done. Some of the other statuses you might have instead of this, you could have like NRD for not required. So we could do that instead, not required. And that's it. There we go. We've done all the basics. So hopefully that gives you enough to get going on level B. And in the next video, we will talk about level C. Thanks very much.